Hey, Matt Haycox here, and today I'm with Patrick Powers. Now I'm really looking forward to this one because Patrick's a prolific author, he's a speaker and a trainer, and he works on the subjects of lead generation, marketing, copywriting, entrepreneurship and success. Welcome to the house, Patrick.
Thanks, Matt. Really excited to be here.
No, thanks for coming. So listen, obviously I've given a very brief introduction, but can you give us a little more about your history and your story?
Absolutely. I am from Denmark, hence my weird accent. I started my first business at 21 because I hated being a landscape gardener. Went bankrupt within a year and realized that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, and started to study what went wrong. Figured out that business is all about marketing and sales. So started to study that like crazy. And finally found out that, wow, this is so fascinating, this subject of marketing and sales. So I was just studying it all the time. So I thought, why not turn it into a business? And that's pretty much what I did.
And what was that business that you turned it into back then?
Well, the first business I failed with was actually as a holistic practitioner. So it was all about health. But then, I moved forward with the marketing and sales training and did lots of home-based businesses in the network marketing field. One of my biggest problems, and I would say is the biggest reason why I failed so many times, is because, one, I didn't have any confidence. I was unbelievably shy and just afraid of other people, basically. I grew up in a very, very secluded area of Denmark where there was almost no people, and I never learned any social skills. So that was a big challenge for me. But I kept on pushing forward and grew myself and became more and more confident. And then it was in 2002, I reached a level in my life where I was just like, I was so miserable. I was a temp agent moving furniture, and it was just like I couldn't stand it anymore. I said, this has to change. It has to change now. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes, right? So stop buying my own excuses about why I couldn't do something and why I wasn't good enough. I was just going to go out there and take action. And I did. And my life literally changed like that. It was unbelievable. Found a new network marketing company. Within weeks, it was flying. It was literally flying. And then within 9 months, I think it was financially free. And that was it. So that was in 2003.
And what, at that point, what did you do? Did you want to carry on with the network marketing at the point of being financially free, or did you kind of give up and move on?
Well, I carried on for a while. It was an amazing life to go from a temp agent and also taxi driver to suddenly I was traveling the world. I was living in beautiful places like St. Lucia in the Caribbean. I had a beautiful girlfriend in New York. It was just amazing. So, but weirdly enough, I got tired of that. And I think it was because I was actually still quite nervous about selling and making presentations. So I bought an excuse that, hey, this is getting boring. But it was really actually because I was actually afraid to still continue to go out and push and build a business. So I decided to sell that to become a generic coach and trainer. I moved to Dominican Republic. Hadn't done my homework because infrastructure in Dominican Republic is incredibly poor. So the power would go 3, 4, 5 times a day. So the business model that I planned to build everything on was to do webinars, to do training via webinars, but also get the business via webinars. And then obviously you're sitting there in the middle of a webinar that you spend a lot of money and time building, and suddenly the power goes, the internet goes, then boom, and you're in the middle of a pitch, right? So that didn't work. And so suddenly I was in very, very, very dire straits, like seriously dire straits. And I was actually, for the second time in my life, so afraid that I felt a pit in my stomach, like literally like almost the stomach like churned. The first time I was going to make a sale, by the way. And I remember I was so afraid that I went to the door I was going to make a sale at, and I literally turned around and I dropped out of that job as I couldn't handle it. So for the second time in my life, I was so afraid that I had this pit in my stomach. Didn't know what to do. Practically the only money I had left was in a safety deposit box in Kensington, so a bit far away from the Caribbean. So I had a friend bail me out, say, you send me a ticket to get back to the UK, where in 2009, I basically restarted everything here with £2,500.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I want to hear about what happened from 2009 onwards, but just before we do, I've just picked up a couple of notes from when we were talking just then. Obviously, you said that because of your upbringing, you lacked confidence, and that was one of the hardest things with you starting business. How did you actually overcome that lack of confidence issue?
Well, so in the early days, it was simply just a matter of pushing myself further and further and further to do things that I was afraid of, to build that confidence. And this is probably one of the biggest achievements, I would say, in my life. When people ask what was your biggest achievement, is overcoming the fear of people and the fear of public speaking. So I literally pushed myself to do some crazy stuff from time to time. When I went to a party or a networking event or a business event, I pushed myself to try to be the center of attention. So it's not something that I enjoyed doing. Like some people love to be the center of attention. I did it because I knew I had to become comfortable with being around people and being the center of attention. So that's one of the things that I did. Now, in the most recent years, I found some techniques to do some pretty amazing deep reprogramming of the brain to basically train your brain to be in any state that you want to be in, including confidence. So, but it's more than just visualization. It's more like emotionalization. You're actually getting into emotions and training your brain to be in a certain state, an emotional state in certain situations.
But I love the first part of your answer on that as well, because it's something I often get asked and talk to people about, and they say, oh, I want to go networking or I want to speak in public. How do I do it? I don't have the confidence. And for me, I think the answer isn't particularly more complicated than like you say. You've got to get out there and push and try. I think someone once described confidence to me as like a muscle.
Absolutely.
You've got to use it, and if you don't, the less you work it, the harder it's going to be, and you're only going to get better over time by a little bit today. So whether that's meeting one person for a coffee today and speaking in public to 3 people tomorrow, and push and push and push. But
absolutely,
I don't think I think most problems don't have rocket science answers. It's just a simple matter of getting out there and doing it. But it's always, I guess, having the confidence to take that first step in trying to build the confidence.
Well, I mean, to get that, lots of people, as you say, they will say, I don't have the confidence to do some stuff. Well, is that the way you want to be for the rest of your life? And if the answer is no, then do something about it. Just don't sit there. You got to do something to change your life. A lot of people tend to believe that the way that we are is that's the way that we are. That we're either confident or not confident, and that's just complete false. Right? There is no way that we are. You can literally train yourself to be anyone you want to be. So yeah, go out there and push yourself to be in situations that are incredibly uncomfortable. I did some crazy stuff. I mean, one of the things I did, which now I was seeing myself as like, wow, this was actually fun, but back then it was really scary. I saw it one day in a shop. I saw this dragon, like a puppet dragon. Like one of you can stick your hands up in, and it was really cute. And I thought, this is a really, really cute dragon. And I think I'm going to use this to become more confident. And I was carrying this dragon around with me and actually bringing it to nightclubs and kind of using it to engage with people and do crazy stuff and dancing with this dragon and just do crazy, crazy things to push myself out of my comfort zone and allow myself to be viewed as crazy, right? Because I think that's very, very important that you're okay with people think that you're crazy or that you're silly, because I don't think you can become successful in business unless other people, there's going to be a time where people think you're crazy, and it's so important to be comfortable with that other people is not going to like you, they're not necessarily going to buy your message, they're going to think you're crazy or whatever it is. You have to become comfortable with that idea.
And tell me, talk about network marketing now. I mean, network marketing is never a business model or a field that I've been involved with. But I guess I've seen it from the outside, and I'm a huge, I guess, fan of networking. Or I talk a lot on my podcast or on my social media about networking, and I believe it's I don't believe it's 100% fact that probably 90% of my success has been down to networking. Whether that's networking to get investors or to get contacts or to get sales. But one of my let's say layman's views of network marketing is that it kind of a lot of the guys cross the line of confidence and just move into harassment, if you like.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you view that? So I mean, is it something that gets taught to the people in network marketing, or is it just am I completely overgeneralizing there?
No, it's not being taught. The problem with network marketing is that because it's a system that like can multiplies on itself, and sometimes if it goes really fast and it grows really fast, there's actually no time to train people properly that is coming in at the bottom. Like if they just had the time to be trained properly, then there wouldn't be a problem. But so really the problem is lack of training. So there's tons and tons of amateurs in network marketing, and they're just going out there and doing it the wrong way. And they think that excitement and just sharing their excitement is going to bowl over people and get them on board. And in fact, they're doing exactly the opposite, is pushing people away. So lots of people are behaving in ways in the industry that is incredibly amateurish, unfortunately. But for me, it's one of the best industries still, because there are some unbelievable people that come through it. Like once you actually push through that and go to the leadership levels a little bit higher up, and you immerse yourself. If you get a mentor, one of the biggest benefits is that you have free mentorship, right? That's one of the things I love about it, because mentorship and coaching in business is everything. It's been everything for me. These days, when I started out, there was no internet, there was no YouTube. So to get advice was very, very hard. I was living in the countryside in Denmark, and I had to bike on my bike 18 kilometers to go to the nearest library to get some information. These days, people, they just click on YouTube and it's there. But I think they take it for granted. And another thing is that they think that, oh, I got some tips out of a YouTube video or some free training. Now I know what I'm, I know
now
what
I'm
I'm
an expert. Yeah.
Exactly. And that, it's just ridiculous to think that way, because if it was that easy, then everybody would be successful, right? So you've got to go much, much, much deeper. So finding a mentor is so powerful, and that's one of the things I love about network marketing.
Have you got any mentors now?
I don't have any. I would say like one mentor. I'm part of a mastermind, which is very, very powerful. Yep. And that's kind of, they're not like one mentor, but it's a group sharing ideas, and it's very, very powerful. But I've had many mentors throughout my life, many coaches that has literally changed my life.
And what would you say the best decision you've ever made is?
The best decision was to overcome my fear, to say that this is not who I am going to end up being. I have more potential. I can be another person, and then to challenge myself, to constantly push myself out of my comfort zone. The first time I did a public speaking I was so unbelievably afraid that you can't even imagine. My voice was shaking, my heart was pumping, my knees were literally shaking. And that's probably one of the best decisions I made to do that one first talk, because after that I felt unbelievable. It was like my body was just flushed with all these amazing hormones or whatever it is, and I felt unbelievable, and I knew this is something I need to push myself further to do.
Cool. And what would you say the scariest moment of your career has been?
Scariest moment, well,
or maybe that leads us in to talk about from 2009 onwards. If when I guess you were coming back to England with no money and a bailed out.
Well, a couple of things. Like my first bankruptcy, and I didn't really know who to turn to, and I was just like, I was so desperate. Like, what's happening now? What's going to happen with me? So that was really scary. The second one I was telling you about is when I was in Dominican Republic and just running out of money, and I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to turn this around? And then when I came back, it was very, very tough, because I've been at the height. I built the biggest team in Europe in my company, and I got awards and all that kind of stuff. And suddenly it was just like I was completely broke. So that was very hard for my ego, and it was very scary for 2 years, 2 years almost. I lived with a constant fear of being on the street, because I was constantly behind rent. So that was super scary.
Tell me, with the network marketing that you were doing from the past, does that not have a residual income that carries on?
It does, but I sold that position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say the best piece of advice you've ever been given is?
There's without a doubt from my coach Peggy Long, and she taught me that there are only two things that will create your dreams and your goals. They are choice and commitment. So everything that you are today is based on all the choices you've made throughout your life, and everything you will become will be based on all the choices that you make. And people would, in general, make incredibly poor choices based on short-term gain and avoidance of pain. Right? Typically, it's avoidance of pain. Like, for example, we were talking about losing weight, and I lost 150 pounds, and I've been fat practically my whole life until 4 years ago. And so, why did I suddenly lose weight? But because I had enough pain to move me to action. My whole life, I've been focused on short-term gain and avoidance of pain, and the avoidance of being hungry for a while, because sometimes you got to be a little bit hungry if you want to lose a lot of weight. So that is so important to understand that dynamic of that make the right choices, not based on short-term avoidance of pain or gain, but on long-term. And then number 2 is to be committed, to stick to your choices. And that's the big problem with people as well. Did you know that, for example, that 74% of the people that make a New Year's resolution, they've broken it in 4 days?
Oh, really?
74%.
I thought it'd be higher.
4 days they've broken it there, and they're standing there on New Year's Eve and they're like, I'm going to change my life now. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to stop smoking. Everything is going to be different. In 4 days, they're back.
But I think for me, a big part of the reason behind that as well is if you have to wait until the 31st of December to make a New Year's resolution, then you obviously don't give a shit about it anyway.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to change, then you're going to change today or you're going to change tomorrow. I think it's just another excuse to procrastinate, isn't it? Like in December, you think, I could do with losing some weight, or I could give up smoking, or whatever it is. And you think, well, I'll do it on the 1st of January. You don't want to do it anyway. So it's I guess it's
completely agree.
It's no wonder.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about quite specifically today as well. When I was preparing for today's interview, I was working through your website, and obviously you're a master of copywriting and a master of sales funnels, I'm a follower of Russell Brunson, and I'm a big fan of his, sales funnels and click funnels, his product. But I think probably the term sales funnels, whilst it applies to both online and offline, and the theory's probably been around forever, it's a word that's probably not even really found itself into the business dictionary yet. Can you give us a bit of an idiot's guide to sales funnels?
Sure, and why they're so important.
Yes.
Imagine you walk into a bar and you see a really nice lady, and you walk up to her and say, hey, you look really nice, do you want to get married?
You've put this into my terms now.
Okay.
I can follow this.
So is asking her, do you want to get married, is that the wrong question?
Is that the wrong question?
Yeah?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
It's the wrong timing. It's the wrong timing, right? There is no relationship, there is no trust, right? And that's more or less what most people, most businesses do. They basically try to get attention and then sell right away. But there is no trust in relationships, so people have a resistance towards that. And I think the reason why they come to this conclusion that that's the way to do business is that they see big business plaster their marketing all over the place, and then people just buy. But that only happens after you build trust. So really the essence of why you need a sales funnel as well is that it's a way to gradually build that trust that it takes for people to buy something from you. And then to buy something small to begin with, and then something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
And would you say sales funnel is just another word for sales process, or is there actually more to it than that?
No, there's much more to it. And it really is about creating that trust that you are the choice to buy from, and to get attention with either something really, really cheaply or something free, right? So there is a very, very small barrier, very small fear to taking the offer from you, right? And then you hopefully over deliver, so you create some trust, and then sell them something a little bit more expensive and a little bit more and more and more and more, all the way up the funnel. And
is it as applicable to online, to offline as online?
Absolutely. And then there is so many, like the amount of money that is just poured out and not capitalized on by not analyzing your sales funnels is unbelievable. I mean, you can literally, like in half an hour, once I increased the response rate by close to 600% in half an hour. And that was just by one of the steps in the sales funnel. But there's so many things you can do. And one of the areas I see now is becoming more and more and more important is in the loyalty, that you create the loyalty and keep on selling to people for a long time. And this is becoming so much more important these days because it's becoming incredibly more expensive to get the clients. So because of that, it's more becoming more important to keep them for longer and selling more to them.
And I guess actually getting the client in the first place leads me on to the second thing I wanted to talk to you about, which was copywriting. So
Yep.
I was just talking off camera earlier about how when I was looking at some of your copywriting letters,
Sure.
it was taking me back 25 years to when
Yep.
I was 12, 13, 14. I think the magazine back then was called. We had a UK magazine called Exchange and Mart. Do any of you guys remember that? And this magazine, I can't actually remember what else it was. I think it was just people trading things, just buying and selling crap. But they always had a section in there called business opportunities, and I used to sign up to literally every one of them, and I must have been on every single business opportunity mailing list. From that day forwards, I'd be 13 years old and I'd get more post delivered to the house than my parents. But it was just copywriting copywriting written letter after copywritten letter of follow this and get thin, follow
Sure.
this, buy this, and make more money. And when I saw some of your copy letters, it literally took me back as if it was yesterday. Is there a very specific format of letter?
There's a lot of different ways to start a sales letter, but I mean, of course, there is certain formulas that you follow all the time. First of all, you've got to get attention, right? And why it's so important to understand copywriting is everything in business is literally about understanding how to get people to act, buy, and comply, right? And that's all about understanding what buttons to trigger in people's brains. It's actually really about understanding how does a brain work? How do we trigger action, buying behavior, and get them to comply? So it's all about influence and understanding the science of influence. And so copywriting is really just understanding how to use the words to trigger those actions that you want. And I'll give you one example of how powerful it can be. There was a headline that was "Put more romance into your life." Okay, so put more romance into your life. Now, with just one letter, that response rate for that headline was increased by 300%.
Really?
And it was by putting the word S at the end of put. So it becomes puts more romance into your life. Now it's implied that something or somebody is doing it for you. And of course we're lazy, so we want something to be done for us. So that just illustrates how powerful it is and how important it is to understand how words impact us as human beings. And that's really what copywriting is all about. The first step in all marketing is to get attention. But again, the problem is that most companies, they're just about getting attention and then trying to make the sale. And it's just too soon. It's too much, too big an ask too soon. So you've got to gain their trust, and that's what you also do. So get attention. And here's a big error, big error that most small businesses, they do. They see all the big business marketing, and it's all about brand, and it's about exposing your brand, getting your name out there, right? But if a small business do that kind of marketing, they're going to go bankrupt because it takes a long time to create that trust and familiarity by seeing that brand over and over and over again if it's just seeing the brand. So one error I see small businesses do is they basically have the headline at the forefront of their marketing, or what was supposed to be the headline is simply their brand name. And if it's a small business nobody heard about, it doesn't make any difference to see the brand name. So you've got to have some kind of a strong benefit, either a very strong benefit in a headline that's something that I would want, right? Or a shock headline that gets your attention and simply gets you to read the next sentence. One of the best headlines I've ever seen was "Read this or die," right? And I thought this, and it was actually written by one of the best copywriters ever. And it was what was called a magalog, like I think 24 page or a lot of pages sales letter that was created like it was a magazine, small magazine, and it was all about health, some kind of health solution or books about health or whatever. And obviously, that headline for somebody who's maybe 45, 55, they're interested in health, they're going to respond to something like this: "Read this or die." Right, and that's an example of a shock headline that doesn't necessarily tell you the benefits of what you're trying to sell.
Fantastic. Now, actually, talking about So actually, something else I'd just like to talk about. When we were talking off camera earlier, we were talking about what our superpowers were.
Yeah.
And you told me about an app that follows a process and gives out what your superpower is. Obviously, you explained that yours was Complexity Buster.
Yeah.
And I just like to talk about that a bit more because again, something I always come across in daily life, with people I talk to in business or just I guess in the home life, people are always overwhelmed by problems or not just by problems, overwhelmed by activity that gets their head in a spin or makes them unable to even start with any one of the tasks, because they've got too much on the plate.
Yeah.
How do you complexity bust?
Okay, so it's basically just trying to boil it down to its core, like whatever project it is or whatever it is you're trying to say. Just boil it down to its very, very core essence. If there was only one thing that you could do today, I heard this incredible, I guess call it exercise, not an exercise, more as a process of actually operating. This is called commander's intent, and it was just something that they use in the military when they go out in a campaign or a war or whatever. They have this thing. It's like if there was only one thing that we could achieve, what would that one thing be? What is the most important thing to achieve in this situation, in this project? And then relentlessly focus on that one thing. So I would encourage people to ask themselves that question: What is if it's a matter of marketing, what is the core message? That's the one thing we want people to get about our product or our service. The one thing, and then relentlessly focus on that in your message. Not trying to communicate all kinds of benefits, right? The core of the message. And then when it comes to projects, focus on that. What is the one thing we want to accomplish this week or today? Because people are so distracted today by social media. And I must admit, it's very, very easy myself to be distracted. So I have this commander's intent. What is the one thing today I must achieve? If I didn't achieve anything else, what is the one thing? And it's a really, really powerful question.
I'm just following on from that. Actually, it's quite interesting how you talk about the focus and on what one thing do you want to achieve today. I was reading an article recently about Warren Buffett, and he was being asked what his success secrets were. One of which he was putting down to laser focus.
Focus, yeah.
And he was giving his theory, which was that I guess it was an amplification of the 80-20 rule. So he's saying, list down the 10 things that you would most like to accomplish, and then which of those 2 things are the most important things.
Yeah.
And then he's basically saying, then scrub the other 8 things off your list,
yeah.
and focus on that that one thing or those 2 things, because as much as those 10 things were things that you wanted to focus on,
yeah.
There's still the other 8 things that are going to distract you from what your real goal is, and until you've achieved whatever was the top of your list, don't even think about the rest of them.
It's so powerful, and I've completely changed my goal setting around a few years ago to only have one goal for the year. I mean, literally, this is my only goal for the year. And what happens is that instead of before I had all these different goals, it's kind of easy to let yourself off the hook by not actually achieving some of those goals. But if you only have one goal, that is the only thing you can focus on, and you can't really let yourself off the hook, right? And say, oh, that is okay that I didn't achieve it, because that is the only thing. And the magical thing that happens is that you'll find that you're probably going to achieve that goal way before the end of the year. And of course, then you focus on the next thing and then the next thing. It's a very, very, very powerful mindset.
Now tell me, one thing I always like to ask my guests when they come is if I was to give you a business loan, whether it's a business loan or an investment, in a business that has to be in a different sector, to what you're already doing at the moment or to what you've already done in the past, what do you think it would be?
That's an easy one, because that's basically a business I've been planning and playing around with for years and years, and that's in food. I love cooking, and I think I have a bit of a skill and an ability to find flavors that really combines really well. So it's a food business based on healthy treats.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might need some help from you. I've been trying to cook pancakes for my daughter over the last couple of
no
weeks.
Problem.
We've had them either too thin and burnt, too thick and mushy. And I worry that I send her off to school and she's going to spend the rest of the day in sick bay because she eats her way through them out of pure politeness, I think.
No problem. We'll get you become a master pancake cooker in no time.
Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming. But before you go, one question again I always ask people is how you would like to be remembered after you're no longer with us. But I always like the question to be very specifically answered as to how you would have your tombstone engraved.
Okay, that's a good question regarding the tombstone. Really, I would like to be remembered as somebody who fought for other people's dreams, and believed in them more than they believed in themselves, because that's what I needed early in my life. So it'd be something like, he fought for other people's dreams.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
It's been really, really interesting. I'm sure the guys at home are going to find some good use in sales funnels, copywriting, and appreciate listening to your story too.
Amazing. Thanks,
Fantastic.
Matt.
Cheers, Patrick.
Cheers.